In the summer of 1966, Aden was no longer a normal city. By day, the markets were crowded, shopkeepers opened their stalls, and thousands of people moved through the narrow streets as if life were continuing as usual. But beneath that appearance of normality, a silent war was unfolding. British soldiers stationed in the city faced a threat unlike anything they had encountered before. The enemy did not wear uniforms. They did not stand behind defensive lines. They did not announce themselves before attacking. Instead, they blended into the population, appearing and disappearing among the crowds before anyone could react. Attacks were becoming increasingly common. A grenade thrown into a military vehicle. A bomb hidden along a patrol route. A gunman emerging from a crowd for only a few seconds before vanishing again. Every attack carried the same message: the British presence in Aden was becoming unsustainable. Traditional military tactics were proving ineffective. Roadblocks slowed traffic but did little to stop the attackers. Patrols filled the streets, yet the violence continued. The army could control major roads, but it could not control every alleyway, every market, or every rooftop. The most difficult area was the Crater District, a densely populated part of the city built inside the remains of an ancient volcanic crater. Its narrow streets twisted in every direction. The crowded markets created endless hiding places. For a soldier in uniform, entering these streets meant becoming an obvious target. For those planning attacks, the district was the perfect environment. They knew the terrain. They knew the people. Most importantly, they knew exactly where British patrols would be and when they would arrive. As the situation worsened, military commanders began searching for a different solution. They needed a way to fight an enemy that refused to fight openly. They needed people who could move through the city without attracting attention. People who could observe, identify, and track suspects without being recognized as soldiers. The answer would come in the form of a small group of specially selected men. These operators were not chosen at random. Many had experience working in difficult environments. Some could speak Arabic. Others possessed physical features that allowed them to blend more easily into the local population. They would leave behind the obvious signs of military service. No uniforms. No military vehicles. No visible weapons. Instead, they dressed like ordinary civilians and entered parts of the city where conventional troops could no longer operate safely. Their missions required extraordinary patience. They could spend days observing a single individual. They learned routines. They learned which streets people used, what time they appeared, who they met, and where they disappeared. The work was slow, repetitive, and often dangerous. One mistake could expose everything. A wrong accent. A suspicious glance. A movement that seemed out of place. Any of these could attract unwanted attention and place the entire operation at risk. The environment itself worked against them. Aden's summer heat regularly pushed temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Dust filled the air. The crowded markets were noisy, chaotic, and unpredictable. Visibility changed constantly as sunlight filtered through covered sections of the bazaars. In some places, a person could disappear into a crowd within seconds. In others, a stranger could be spotted immediately. Every mission depended on understanding these details better than anyone else. As months passed, the covert teams became increasingly active. They moved through the city quietly, collecting intelligence and identifying individuals suspected of organizing attacks. Officially, very little was known about what happened during many of these operations. Reports remained classified. Details were rarely discussed publicly. What is known is that certain individuals suddenly disappeared from the conflict. Attacks linked to specific networks declined. Some of the people believed to be coordinating violence were no longer able to do so. Yet success brought its own problems. The more active the covert campaign became, the greater the risk of confusion. Different intelligence units often operated in the same areas with limited communication between them. Secrecy protected operations from being exposed, but it also created dangerous situations. In at least one tragic incident, friendly forces reportedly mistook one another for hostile targets. Such incidents highlighted the hidden costs of conducting multiple secret operations in the same city. Meanwhile, events beyond Aden were beginning to reshape the conflict. Across the Middle East, political tensions were escalating. Regional conflicts fueled anti-British sentiment and strengthened support for nationalist movements. The local population increasingly believed that British rule was coming to an end. Informants who had once provided valuable intelligence became reluctant to cooperate. Some feared retaliation. Others simply believed that supporting the British was no longer in their best interests.